Do it. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wait, what's this called? Big announcement coming soon?
3,
Yeah,
2,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1.
Welcome to the Big Announcement Coming Soon podcast. I'm your host, Michael Boyle, joined today by Nick Garvin and Jeff Rinson. David is away. Nick has come back. He's all excited because he did a presentation about Web3, which consumed his life, and now maybe he'll consume us about it. In fact, we might hang out in his exciting metaverse. Hong Kong to permit licensed crypto exchanges to offer services to retail investors. Looks like Bitcoin prices are falling. No big deal. We expected that, but are stable coins in jeopardy? We'll see. And I drank some water that had a fly in it. How are you guys doing today?
That's not why you got your name wrong. Don't blame it on the fly.
It's on the fly. Whenever I notice it, I mispronounce my last name whenever there's a fly in my water.
Yeah, good to be back, guys. Thanks.
I mean, I'm doing better than that. No flies yet.
Okay. So we're talking about the end of the earth with me or with you? I think with me, right? Bitcoin is falling.
Yeah.
Potential U.S. debt fault is a risk to stable coins. I think the theory being that all the stable coins are hiding out in treasury bonds, and then we're going to be defaulting on those. I think we're going to stop paying the military and education and Social Security first before we start making our interest payments, which is what's happened at least in the past, unless I'm getting this wrong. And that's a good way to ratchet up pressure, because when people don't get paid, they start, wait a minute, this comes from the government? I didn't know that. I thought it was just a special person out there that pays for everything.
Right, and they're going to keep paying, they said, the debt and the bonds for now. They cut things slowly over time, so there might be like mid-June before they stop paying those.
But are they going to cut the payments for other stuff? Let's say military pay or Social Security?
If they don't, I mean,
Yeah, Social Security for
I
sure.
wonder what's going to be in the priority.
They're not cutting the payments. They don't have the money to make the payments, and they're discussing if they're going to raise taxes or make cuts, just to be like detailed, because like they're just paying out of what they have right now. And it runs
but can't
out.
they stop paying one to pay the other? You know, so if you got $100 and your bills are 100, can't you just?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they'll stop paying Social Security and veterans
think so.
benefits before they stop paying the debt. I would think.
According
We're
to
going back to history, right?
NPR Planet Money, I would say yes, the debt will get paid for a while, but like
that'll be the last to fall.
But you're saying so the stable coins have T-bills, and let's talk about Circle because they're the most transparent.
Okay.
They had a lot of 3-month bills, the 4 and 5% range. They don't have a lot of 10-year bills. If they miss a payment, they can afford to miss probably 2 years of payments right now because they have run a legit business where as they stack the interest from T-bills and they take a cut of stuff coming in and out, Circle's just doing fine. They have money. They have it. They haven't lost
as long as there's not a run on it.
Correct. But even if there is, the run would have to be a lot because most of their bills, like they were conscious of that and they kept them in 3-month and 6-month securities.
Okay.
So they'll take a little hit, but they were extremely profitable over the last year and the previous year. So they've got money to cover themselves too, just operating profits from the last 2 years. So
okay, so we talked about
temporary
Circle,
hit, but they're fine.
What about the rest of the gang? Like, how much does Circle take up of the pool?
The only two I think are worth discussing are Circle and USDT. BUSD over in Binance has had an odd year, and I'm just not too interested. Like, I don't think it matters as much in relation to T-bills. I think they're just holding cash, is what they say.
Okay.
Tether's holding Bitcoin. They're holding treasuries. They've been profitable. They've been somewhat more transparent over the last year. So
Can you be somewhat more transparent?
Yeah, because I think they were fairly opaque in the beginning.
Yeah, they do a lot.
I guess you could be so. If there's 100 items you should show, and you're showing 2, I guess that's somewhat more transparent.
And they're up to like 17 or 50 of their 100. But
if there's 100, but we have no idea how many there are. But yeah,
I think yes, it's correlated. Tether and Circle, who hold stable coins, hold treasuries. It's not that one missed payment will take them down, though.
Yeah, so I'm sure this is just your typical clickbait.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I've got to get rid of all my stable coins.
Nerdy economic clickbait.
So if I'm in Argentina at 300% interest rate, better buy my pesos again because stable coins are going to because stable coins are going to go down. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, but it's probably coming from the legacy systems for sure. Whoever it's coming from a place to try to get you back into their, stronghold.
Well, a good stronghold. All right, so we can be rest assured, at least for a little while, that things are okay with that. We'll see what happens with the debt limit. talks that are coming up right now.
Yeah, it'll
Pressure's
mess with
on.
Bitcoin
Not
price.
much
It'll
time
mess with
left.
stock prices. They might, right? Moody's in 2011 downgraded the U.S. to AA from AAA.
Right.
It'll mess with some stuff if they don't pass it, but I wouldn't be worried about stable coins holding their peg.
Okay. So we'll see what happens. All right. Let's go to Hong Kong then. Hong Kong to permit
Mm.
licensed crypto exchanges to offer services to retail investors. I thought Hong Kong was part of China. China doesn't like crypto.
It is, well, you lived in Shanghai forever, right? The special economic zones, when Hong
Yeah,
Kong,
but I thought we were losing that in Hong Kong. Maybe we haven't.
they are slowly, but
Mm.
and I don't know the specifics. I figured you and David would fill me in on this one. Or if I mean Nick, you're close, but you haven't been right into China recently. So
Mm.
what they have access to as a Hong Kong citizen versus a Chinese citizen, and that stuff
Sure.
I'm not super clear. I do, yeah, they're the same country now when it went back from Britain in '99. So essentially, you're right. We're a step away from opening up China again, which would be interesting. But right, Hong Kong's always had somewhat different rules. So Huobi, Gate.io, and OKX, which are some that have been around forever, and every time people talk FUD on any exchange, these ones just keep surviving. June 1st, they can start trading. They
Wow.
have rules now. You've got to
Uh-huh.
hold the crypto that your clients exchange to exchange
Mm.
on the exchange,
Makes
and
sense.
some of
What?
those other customer protections. So it's smart customer protections. They're opening it back up to a very, I mean, there's tons of money in Hong Kong. It's a very wealthy area, lots of economic activity
Hmm.
there. And then in my head, then we're a step
And a lot of it
closer,
money.
Mm.
yeah, into
The movement of
reopening
money.
China
Yeah.
to
Okay.
trading. So it's a lot more people who can, right, you can jump on wherever and trade on dexes, but who can legally come on and trade and are going to.
Because I
And
mean, the
no
Hong Kong government
leverage, right?
doesn't do anything without the permission of the Chinese government. So
Right.
this is interesting.
Yeah, they did their own thing in China. You can't trade. It's not Hong Kong. But like
Yeah.
you said, who's really pulling the strings?
Well, I mean, it's
You
smart of China
also,
to have Hong Kong hang out there to do experimental stuff because it's a nice, small,
yeah,
controlled group. But
you've
what were you
seen
going to
that
say, Nick?
before, right? Yeah, yeah, the same thing. Like you've seen that before with like Shenzhen or other areas. Like they have
Mhm.
experimented with small,
Yeah.
like little prototype cities or regions, and that's yeah, maybe that's what's happening before the scaling ensues, which is a good sign, right? I mean, inevitably it's going to happen, and it's just neat to see how quickly it's happening. I wonder, Jeff, are these exchanges allowing leverage, or is this something that is it now within the rules?
Um, I'm not sure.
It'd be interesting
Sorry, I
because
don't know.
that's also quite like Hong Kong was known for that really well. Like a lot of the degen
Yeah,
leverage
early
loans came out
on,
of Asia.
yeah, and then like Binance started in China and
Mhm.
moved to Hong Kong or started in Hong Kong.
Hmm.
A lot of places moved out. It used to be a lot more friendly, you're right? A lot more leverage trading there. I would imagine they would want to limit that. That would be part of the regulation. That's not necessarily a
Mm.
healthy thing to have 100x leverage open to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking too.
Hmm.
I mean, bullish. More people able to just log on, KYC, hook their bank account in, and
Mm.
right. You don't need to worry about, well, they could have done it this way. They could. What can normies do? People who just want to have a little Bitcoin and ETH become part of the system.
And you
Right.
also got to wonder
KYC
if this
being know your
is
customer.
another way. You got to wonder if it's another way to get people conditioned for the CBDC, right? Which is going to come, and maybe this is likely.
Well, I
Let's
mean,
onboard Hong Kong with stuff.
and
So
that's
when
one.
when is that central
China.
bank coin going to come?
So China started 2 or 3 years ago in certain cities. They would drop people a couple $1,000s and put a time limit on it. You've got to go spend this money in the next
Uh-huh.
3 months, 6 months. And they did it city by city because the vendors then need to have the right app. Um, so
Mm.
it's been they've been doing little pilot programs in different places. Um, so in my head, it's here, like
Mm.
right, it's there. It's just not necessarily out in everybody's hands. But Nick, I think Nick has a good point of it would be interesting to take the Chinese CBDC to Hong Kong, where they're trying to exact control over, right? Subway riders were sharing oyster tickets during the protests. There's been protests. They're trying to clamp down on how people spend money um, in Hong Kong already. Why not introduce the CBDC? And to get there, maybe
Mm.
this is a way of softening that introduction.
And when it
Because
does come together, right? When China does kind of take it back, whether it's 2030 or 2038 or whatever the actual date is, that's kind of like that's what the people keep talking about around here, at least that there's like a date, right? Where there's like a
Mhm.
I
Passover.
haven't
But
heard that.
as you mentioned, it's already kind of happening, right? So I wonder if this is again a slow play towards like phasing out the Hong Kong dollar, because I can't imagine when they do merge that there's the need for two currencies. I don't think Beijing would want that.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. So, but with, I mean, China itself, they really are a cashless society as they stand.
Mm.
So, like,
Yeah, with
you
WePay,
can't. There's
so
no cash. Yeah, with WeChat. Yeah, you can't. There's no cash in anything. Like, and if you're a foreigner, for example, it's probably be hard as heck to pay if you're a tourist coming into China. So, what
download
do they
the
need
app,
is,
take your dollars to
well,
the counter,
you
and
gotta have
instead
a
of
phone
getting
number.
cash back, it
You have to
goes
have a
in.
phone number and all that kind of stuff. So you have to go get a SIM card, get a phone number. It's just and it's all in Chinese, so it's just tough if you're a foreigner, if you're a tourist at least.
For sure, for sure. But
Yeah.
I mean, more and more people are doing that every time they land in. Right, you're going to be here a
Yeah,
week. You go buy a
people
SIM
will figure
card,
it out.
Yeah,
and if
yeah,
you're not in
Figure
the
it out.
U.S., you can just buy a SIM card for $40 or $10,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think
yeah.
there's hurdles for sure.
Yeah. But I'm just, what do they need a CBDC for if they pretty much already have it? We're
It's
talking China versus Hong
if it's
Kong.
on their blockchain network, it's easier to track. It's easier to
Okay.
withdraw from people's private wallets because it's not through a bank. Right?
Mm.
Gotcha.
That's the point, is credit score linked into spending, so they can control, you've spent too much this month on this, we're going to just
Yeah.
tax you a bit this much because you bought sugar extra.
Okay.
All right, the government owns your money.
So the government already kind of owns it, but this would be a more efficient way of owning it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Easier
and
way to steal from
censoring
the
it.
people.
All right, that's the way we make utopia. Absolutely.
Nick, educate us. What are you doing this week?
Yeah, so
Well,
today we're going to talk about Nick. Now, so Nick's got a room that you can run around in.
So there's a few. The future's bright. I'll say that before we get into the utopia dystopias talk. And I think it's going to get brighter when we continue to educate people about the tech and we separate the tech from the stories, right? Like one of the first things I said to everyone was that like we gotta remember that the tech is innocent and that the humans are
Wait, you
guilty,
said
right?
to everyone. I don't think you told anybody
Yeah,
what you're
and
doing.
I was just segueing into that right now.
Okay.
I'm popping
Segue,
up this
man.
little room about I did a workshop last week for a nice like educational conference, and it was probably I don't know one of the first times that I've in public talked to a lot of people about the benefits of bridging education to Web3. And
Does that mean blockchain essentially, by the way?
yeah, well, Web3, like it's made up of a multitude of different things, right? It's like it's the it runs on the blockchain, like
Decentralized.
essentially.
That's what
Yeah.
your poster
But
says. Okay.
decentralized, open source, peer-to-peer, creating different learning communities. It consists of the metaverse, NFTs, crypto, all sorts of it, right? Wikis, digital wikis, but also like it's more gearing towards personification and full immersion. In this case, I talked a lot at the workshop about digital credentialing, and I ran it in the metaverse itself. So there's two metaverses that I just led into. One of them was where I kind of conducted the presentation, almost kind of curated the experience from Web 1, 2, and 3, talking about the constraints and then the potential impacts of Web 3 on education. And then we had an after party. So the goal was to then get people to understand what a MetaMask was and get them onboarded through a MetaMask in order to get into the after party. Now, the after party is the second link that I sent you guys. And it's a little bit more lofty, homey. And it has all kinds of stuff in there from like NFTs that you could purchase to articles that we've written to other thought leaders in the space. And then like a cool little NFT project that my school's currently engaged with some coworkers of mine that came from the grade fours. So it's kind of like their own PFP project. But ultimately what it was just a bunch of people that were curious about the space. I talked for, like, believe it or not, only about 20% of the time, with 80% of the time being the workshop. And we started
What
with
were we doing in the workshop?
it was neat. Yeah, we had to experience the constraints of Web 1, Web, and then
I see.
Web 2, and then finally Web 3. So Web 1, for example, considered like a static version of the internet, only like a reading, like read. You couldn't. It wasn't read write, right? It was just read only.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, I mean we could write. We had bulletin boards, but
yeah,
yeah, it
kind of.
wasn't interactive.
Right. So what we did was like a silent little gallery walk where we were able to put sticky notes on stuff and read the digital rights charter from the 6529 like Web3 movement. And then every opportunity for each session there was a chance to doodle. But being Web 1, they were only able to doodle with Microsoft Paint.
Oh,
or
nice.
pixel art. What they didn't know is that if you didn't want to partake in that task, you can just doodle in the background. They didn't know that their doodles were going to be collectively merged and be given to them back as the NFT, which was kind of like a little surprise at the end. But then we moved into the Web 2 constraint phase, which was the social web, right? The social web was kind of like hashtag this, hashtag that,
Mm-hmm.
changing the game of collaboration and communication. And ultimately, like that was like you have to do this hashtag, you have to do this Twitter poll, you have to log in with this account. And when they did all that stuff, I kind of sat up at the room and I said, well, all of that doesn't matter now because I own this data. I can cancel you for this. I can monetize you for that. I don't like
Right.
that tweet. Oh, I'll steal
Oh,
this
you're talking
one.
about Twitter. Oh, right, right,
Yeah,
right, right, right.
exactly. And we ran it through that. And so I said that's the downfall and pitfall and constraint of Web 2. So then we moved into the final workshop, which was like Web 3, full immersion into the little metaverses that you guys are seeing now. How to get a MetaMask, getting a MetaMask, and then learning a little bit more about how to navigate the space in order to get your NFT. So each person who participated and got into the metaverse signed the guest book. Will get an NFT. What's that NFT? Well, they already drew it during the Web 1 and Web 2
Nice.
session.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were they excited about they now know what an NFT is? And as an educator, you just want an NFT basically for your own credentials. I mean, that's your
Well,
token, right? It's
I
not
think if we just
necessarily a
look
piece
at
of art, but
potential, yeah, it's credentialing, right? I mean, right now it's going to need obviously consensus with other institutions like legacy institutions, but
mhm.
people at the MTC were talking about it. Like I had one of the attendees, she works for the Mass Transfer Consortium, and she
Okay.
loved it, and she was talking all about how like this is great for micro credentialing in the future, and you know, blockchain's perfect for little chunks of data, and that becomes your digital fingerprint as you whether you go through university or you just accumulate evidence along the way of high school. And I think we're looking for different ways to assess and track performance once after COVID hit and everyone realized, oh, taking tests, if we can't take the test in person, it ruins the whole system. So I
Yeah.
think there's different ways now to start seeking alternative methods that verify, and the blockchain really does help with that. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
it was
we have a system of the blockchain. We have something that's pretty well somewhat easy to use. Is it going to actually change? Just because there's a better system doesn't mean we adopt it.
that's a good point, right? A lot of people even ask what chain would this even sit on, and
But let's say we
people,
found the perfect chain or
yeah,
whatever. I mean, our institutions. I mean, there's a lot. There's where's the incentives to switch?
A bunch already have. You know, like Japan just pushed a big Web3 push from their government to everyone in Japan, and basically saying as things evolve over time, we want to have immutable data, right? They've had some between Fukushima and stuff recently. They lost like all the someone's talking about the information in the plant. So
Uh-huh.
if it had all
hmm.
been on the blockchain, um, so that's been a whole Web3 push for them. So there are places pushing that. But you're right, adoption is usually a big hurdle.
And so,
Hmm.
I'd like Nick, do you see any movement? It just reminds me of when we were doing badges.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I see it starting at universities first. I mean, that's what I talked to another guy who did a
Okay.
workshop about. He worked for IB and he does work with other institutions, like kind of like not really accrediting like WASC or anything, but like more of a push-in advisory consult audit kind of thing. And
Right.
he
That's
was
a good
really
way to make
talking about
cash.
digital wallets being the future, and I asked him if it would start at universities, and he thinks so,
Okay.
because it already is starting with the University of Nicosia, right? They ran their first whole course on the blockchain. They gave the certificate on the
But
blockchain,
I
which
mean,
is
they didn't necessarily didn't they do that because then that's how it makes them unique and that's what attracts people to them. Like, so are the
but then they
legacy
now they
institutions?
have a whole master's program around it, and they got a lot of
Yeah.
funding, and I think they got a lot of like eyes on them. I think just like El Salvador in a way, but they're not slowing down, and there's no regulation at
A-
that level to
And they're
stop
not the
them,
only ones
right?
doing it now. Other people are jumping on
No.
board. So we've talked a lot about badging and credentials. So regardless of what we thought about all this, you had 10, 15, 20 people attend. Why did a fourth grade teacher or a high school teacher
Yeah,
walk into
that's a
your
good
session?
question.
What did they come in looking for or talking about?
Geez, that's like a Terry Gross NPR
So,
question.
no, great question, right? So really what we need to do is prep the kids and prep the teachers for what's coming, right? Here's the easiest way that I explained Web 1, 2,
No,
and 3.
but why
So
were
No,
they
like,
no,
there?
answer the
but listen, like
question.
here's here you
No,
gotta you gotta wait for it. Like it's they want to understand like how what's the importance of IP, right? In order to understand that and to get kids to really get their like beyond PDPA or
So hold on.
digital citizenship.
When Nick, you're saying
Yeah.
when they walked into the room, they said, "I'm a fourth grade teacher and I'm interested in protecting IP."
No, they
What did
walked
the
in because they were
teachers come in
curious
and
about what it
ask about?
was.
Why did they show up to a Web3 workshop is what I'm asking.
Um, I mean, I didn't poll them and ask why. But they were there. I mean, like, why do people show up to anything? I don't know. Like they showed up because they
I'm
were
just curious what
curious.
incentive there was. Yeah,
Yeah,
what
like
were they
why were
curious
they
about?
interested? Because we're talking about badging. What did they come to it
Well, they
knowing,
came
thinking,
skeptical, like this, right? They came thinking, how does this fit to education? They probably came in thinking it doesn't apply at all to education, right? So they
but they
probably
could have gone
came
to a
in
different
thinking,
session.
Did you give cookies?
That's what I'm saying.
right,
They
but
could have. There's probably like
but
10 sessions to pick from. They picked yours for a reason.
I think we just need to
right. I don't
admit
know where
that
I'm
Nick is
going with this.
charming.
I don't
I
know,
guess we're
but
just
like,
like why we're just wondering why somebody would be curious enough to come in. Like
Yeah, be like, we have a lot of
what's going
our
on in their
thoughts
world?
on
I can
micro
tell you what they
credentials and
think of
things. I'm wondering what
after the
they
conference, but I
thought when they
can't tell
showed
you
up.
what they think of before they
Okay,
went, bro. Like
it's
I
just
can
like
tell you
it.
their feedback, and I can tell you like
Okay.
their aha
Yeah, tell us
moments,
about the
but
feedback.
I can't be like, oh, I wonder what they thought going in, because that's
Well,
not how
well,
it
Oh,
well,
that's
like if I
works.
usually
did
the
a
first
session on,
question I ask is like, what do you guys know about this? What do you think about this? Before we could jump. That's why I figured you would have talked about it with them.
I bet they went in because of curiosity. Like if I did something on AI, they'd be in there because they're afraid that's going to take
Right.
over. But maybe viewers are like, what is this Web 3.0?
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, like it
Yeah.
was in the blurb, right? And I think they knew a little bit about the credentialing side, but they were curious about exactly what it was itself, right? It's a big topic. It was something that you had to walk them through because I don't even think we speak in the terms of labeling it as Web 2. Like if I ask you, Mike, like what phase of the internet are we in right now?
yeah,
You know what I mean? And tell me why. No one's gonna
no,
say that, right?
no one
Right.
So you
know.
had to really break it down to them. And ultimately, it's like it's not fully about education, right? But it's like something that you need to upskill yourself with. I can't teach somebody every month like how to update themselves with Gmail or the cloud. But if you're looking at a thing that's going to change trustless, permissionless protocols to make it more open source, understand what decentralized means, you can't just wait for AI or something to do that for you. And education's it's usually the last to get anything. So I'm telling people to get ahead of the curve because their kids are already
Sure.
doing it. And how in Web 1, we disrupted the way we share information. In Web 2, we disrupted the way we communicate information. And in Web 3, we're disrupting what we perceive as value, whether that's monkey photos or IP, right? And I think that ultimately means it's data. And what I think
And when you say
has value.
IP, you mean my personal intellectual property, maybe my
Yeah, and
certificate of
being able to
graduation.
monetize yourself in a way that like there's no intermediate and no third party. So ultimately it's about taking self-custody serious and
That sounds like
taking your
prostitution.
learning serious, right? And becoming like more sovereign with your own everything, right? Your own
Hmm.
digital identity.
Okay. And when people walked out,
Okay.
were they like, "Yes, this is going to happen"? I'm excited.
Yeah.
Or like,
How did
"Okay,
they feel at the end?
yeah, thanks, bro."
Well, they were more aware of the constraints about what they were already opting into, right? When we joke about how if it's a free product, or if it's free, you're the product, right?
Right.
And so they were
Mhm.
excited for the experience of different ways to control that, or how like people like Brave or companies are already flipping the model of incentives instead of us always doing something that benefits a third party. I think they understand that it's a bit of a movement, and I think they really came away not thinking just about like what we kind of all do when we mess around with it and joke about like pictures on the internet or JPEGs or art that we don't understand, right? I think it's again separating the tech and just whether you like it or not, it's coming, right? So we could learn it or we can just continue to ignore it. And that was really
Hmm.
the message. So yeah, I don't know what they were thinking ahead of time, but I know that they were more self-conscious of what they're dealing with now.
I think
Okay.
it's interesting that you said about Web 2 because like Web 2 and money, I feel like people think they understand and then they encounter Web 3 and Bitcoin and they realize they have no clue what they've been doing with the other two.
Well, I did
But
ask
you have
that
to
question,
see
right?
that juxtaposition to see
Yeah.
where you are currently. What were you
I
saying?
And
did
You
Web
ask
two
asked
that.
them,
Like,
yeah.
Web two solved
because
a lot of
actually,
problems. The problem being like it was irritating for me to go into my bank. I could do it online now. So I'm not sure what problems does Web 3 obviously solve for people. I don't know that I have
I
this
don't want to
problem of
go into my
transferring my
bank to
credentials.
have them hold my money. Why can't I just hold my own money?
well, I
I
think
don't
Yeah,
it's
want
but I
to.
don't know. Most people don't really have a problem with that.
but also
Oh,
like most people, like the one
I do.
question I did ask, the one question that I asked there, which got a pretty good response, was this like how many people read Millionaire Teacher, right? Or how many people read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and they were like, "Oh yeah, good." I said
Yeah.
that's how many people think that that's the extent of your financial literacy after high school or even throughout school, and they're like, "Oh yeah." And I said, "So how about Web3 is known as the catalyst that teaches people the importance of teaching digital literacy from the very beginning, right? All the way from having a wallet in self custody to understanding how you're getting fucked by the banks when you're not able to understand how to get your money
Yeah.
out, or why it's $5 every time you make an ATM transfer, or why
Mhm.
you have to wait 6 days to get it
Mhm.
from Bangkok to Cambodia. Like, it's silly. So it's teaching people and kids, mostly the teachers, because the kids are already growing up in this area with roadblocks and different worlds and reading eggs and the gamification and badges. Like, all that stuff was slow drip to all of us. But now the real people, the real digital natives that are still in it are just, that's all they know. So I think there's going to be more of a digital divide than we've seen in the past when we come to Web 2 and Web 3. And
It's interesting.
like,
People
yeah,
still read those two books. I opened up Millionaire Teacher. It was in the school library at my last
right.
job. And I mean, it's solid 1991 advice. It's
Yeah.
great
Well, but that's
for
still
Because,
1990.
full
but where else could you get
currently.
that advice from? You didn't get it in school. Most people didn't.
No,
Oh,
I got
no, no,
Weren't
no. We
friends of
definitely
mine when I
don't
was
teach
younger.
people financial literacy. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to be
Mhm.
learn how to handle your money in school.
Right.
God, why would we teach you something useful? Um,
It might be contemporary advice. We'll have to talk in 3 years.
I
it,
also think like the metaverse itself
it needs
is
to be
like a really
updated, right?
interesting
It should be
space.
Millionaire Teachers come out every 2 years. Otherwise, it's not
Yeah.
worth reading.
Well, Andrew's all over the place. Andrew Holland. I interviewed him for a podcast years ago, but he's still out chatting and stuff. By the way, today he just did a post that said his book is #1 in the UAE on Amazon. Still going.
Is he updating it? Is it relevant still? Did
He
I
had a,
pick
he
up an
has a
old
new one.
copy?
He has a new one. That came out. I think he's done a second edition, but
But I
it's
think,
still the concepts are relatively the same.
Yeah,
but
because the
ultimately, like,
concepts were
Be
basic.
cheap,
Buy
invest your
stocks,
money.
buy bonds,
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah.
yeah, and that was like the first time people heard about assets before people heard about Bitcoin and other things. I mean, I mean, in your general sense, I mean, you know what I mean, in terms of
Hmm.
like alternative ways of making money instead of how we were taught,
Or
just save
losing.
it in
But
the
yeah.
bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's easier if you just think about it like this, right? Web 1, information economy. Web 2, platform economy. Web 3, ownership economy. Now, what that looks like
Hmm.
yet, it could get messy. I don't know, but I think the ownership part is key
I'm
because
still.
that's the
It's,
movement.
it's true you might own it, but I'm still skeptical. Everything gets captured.
There was an
So
article today, though. Did you see that one where they said the government could check? Ledger said the government can take your private keys or read your private keys.
No.
I'll link it. I'll show you. I
No,
just
I
saw the
know.
link.
There's a third party service that you can opt into. It will send shards of your key to 3 different places, so you can do a key
Mm,
recovery. If they
okay,
choose,
there's your
they can
capture.
break their own encryption, work together, and 2 out of 3 would have your private
mm,
key. But that's not what the headlines all say. They all say Ledger's got
mm,
your private key.
So
Which
you
is
can
more
own it.
exciting.
You can own it, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that sounds like it was fun. You gonna do another one soon?
I hope so. I mean, it was neat. It's a big topic. It needs more than an hour, to be honest. Like it,
Okay.
and then
Hmm.
yeah, there's like I
Well,
said, it's changing all the time. So
with
we'll see.
AI, the end of the world is only a couple years out. So I
I'm gonna
guess if you
get
want to,
another
I
one
guess if you
in.
want to do a presentation about Web 3.0, you can, but you only got 2 years left, so you might as well max your credit cards out.
Financial
Yeah.
advice. Thank you.
Yeah, no, don't. None of that was happening at the workshop
All
either.
right,
Apocalyptic based financial advice. Prices,
what are
I
we
was dead on.
predicting?
What I called 26ish, didn't I?
I need to start writing this down because I can't tell you. I'm not even sure what it's at. It's right around. It's between 26, 27 right now, right?
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
it
it was
was this morning.
26.5 when we started. I don't know
Okay.
what they're going to do
Yeah.
with debt ceiling. I don't know how Bitcoin's going to respond. I'm not trading this as usual. And I think the price
26.3.
is going to go up or down. Like, I really have no clue around this debt thing. Because really, at some point, you're guessing about Kevin McCarthy
Hmm.
negotiating versus succumbing to people who can vote him out with one vote in the.
Right.
I don't know, man. And then to guess
Nothing's
the
more
Bitcoin
important than
price off of that.
power, I've learned. Everything's about power. It's keeping your individual power. When you get
Yes.
to
Yeah.
that level, that's all you care about. You'll throw the country to hell if you have to.
I think it's gonna stay boring for a while, to be honest. Like I think it's just gonna keep people
Oh,
bored
I
throughout
think
the
we're going to
summer.
see some Darth Mauls. It'll go up 2,000, down 2,000. That's what it's done after the last couple of
Well, isn't that
FOMC
isn't that boring?
inflation ones. So debt ceiling,
I mean,
we
8%
could
changes is boring.
30K
I thought
24 within 8 minutes. I could see that happening.
that would be
Wiping people out, yeah.
that would be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Go back and look
probably.
at a bunch of the old 1 minute charts around the FOMC. things over the past 2 years, and there's always a Darth Maul candle. It might be a couple $100
The
up and
Federal Open
down,
Market Committee.
Oh, wow.
but it's everybody piling in, piling out, or them just using it as an opportunity to do the old Arthur Hayes and wipe the books, get me a new
Right.
Porsche.
Right.
I know I like my current Porsche. Oh wait, I don't have one. Let's see. All right, shall we do it as a wrap then? We'll see you guys next week.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Have a great week,
That's
guys.
good.
All right.
What's the
See you in the
topic
minute for
next?
coming to. Yeah. 5, 4, 3.